Hi everyone, it's Tommy and Angeline again with another episode of Operation Battle Ready. Today is episode 36, Painting to Win Best Appearance.
Yeah, in the past couple years, we've had the fortune to get to do some paint judging for best appearance at both the Rumble on Route 66 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with our guy Jay Walker from Warsenal, fine
Jay.
purveyor of laser cut goods and services.
The best.
And as well as Adepticon, with our guy Adam Cortez. Adam! What we're talking about here is, we're not really going to get into the basics of, like, you should paint your best and, work your highlights as best as you can. That's a given. That's what every other episode we do is about.
We're assuming, like, here's the thing about, like, first thing as we're talking about winning best appearance at any type of tournament or event ever, like, does not matter. Like, you're not, the chances of you being a brand new painter jumping in and winning is just not very likely. You have to practice a lot. You have to have the basics of highlighting, blending, shading, even just basing your model with something more than just gravel and, like, grass patches. Like, there's a lot more to it than that. You have to have those basics down before you're ever even going to be, like, considered for a best appearance type of award.
At one point, every contest, the contests I don't like and the contests I do like, I'll get to a point where the poor judges, and I feel for all of you, have to split hairs over 2 or 3 amazing armies. And so we're talking about the top contenders already. These are the guys that really can crank a brush. You know them in all your communities out there. So when you have to decide between 2 armies that are great, you gotta split hairs.
Definitely.
But if you keep dropping the ball on these tiny little things versus other painters, those split hairs are always gonna favor the other guy. So we were gonna discuss some of the things on that level. Like I said, we've already picked out the ones with the best themes and the best highlighting and the deepest shading and the best color schemes. Like we've narrowed it down.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 great, 4 great, 5 great contenders, and we got to pick winners. Now you have to start to look for the things that you normally wouldn't maybe even consider flaws, but if you can see more effort from one guy than the other, that's going to be the deciding factor.
It is.
Another thing, basing. The basing on a force needs to be consistent. They all need to look like they're in the same environment.
Yeah.
Don't have one unfinished base. Don't have half of them indoor and half of them outdoor, unless a portion of them show half in, half out, and it creates an environment. Because that's actually the first thing I notice when I walk up to an army.
Definitely.
To judge it is the basing.
Yeah.
And as you're still 2 feet away from it, as you're walking up to it, the one guy that's on the red base and everyone else is on blue ones is going to stand out.
Yeah.
Hopefully that red's there for a thematic reason.
For sure.
Right? Because if it's just he was from a different army and you hadn't switched the base yet, the other guy did.
Definitely. And this is also why, for me personally, and I think Tommy feels the same, I understand people using something like your faction marker kind of thing underneath your base, or maybe having a clear base because people want to say it feels like they're in the environment for real or whatever. I get that, and if you want to do it, good on you. You do that, and that's for your army, and you can be happy doing what you want. However, I'm just going to be really honest here. There's not a chance that you're ever going to win Best Painted at an actually judged tournament or event that judges are looking at forces. It's just, you're not going to win because it's considered unfinished basing because you didn't do a base. A clear base isn't a base. It's kind of just a playing piece at that point. So keep those
Yeah.
things in mind as well. Like, I know a lot of people get disappointed when they're like, well, I painted this really well. Why is it because it was on a clear base? Well, because this person painted theirs really well and also had a painted base. You, like, skipped an entire step that they decided to put the effort in. Like, I'm sorry, I just can't do that.
I mean, if all the top armies somehow were on clear bases, then
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
it would be a wash. We're not trying to
For
be
sure.
biased. But again,
But-
when we're splitting hairs, we have to look where all the extra effort went.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has well painted scenic bases and you just have flat gray ones,
Yeah.
that guy's gonna have the edge.
Yeah.
And yeah, clear basing or unit insignias. I mean, okay, unit insignias would probably get you further than clear,
Definitely, it does.
but
I would agree with
still
that.
not as much as a guy who worked a brush over
No.
some scenics.
No, for sure.
And I guess that kind of brings us to display bases. You know, it's not having a display base, and I guess it's a good time to talk about rubrics. A lot of painting contests have rubrics, which is kind of like, you know, a score sheet, bullet points,
Yeah.
things that, you know, like 3 stars if you blended 2 colors, 4 stars if you blended 5 colors. I've always found those unnecessary, but you're going to run into those a lot, and there's nothing you can do. Always check the rubric before, you know, starting
Always.
your project if you're serious about trying to win their best appearance award,
Yeah.
because those are the guys judging.
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of the things we're going over here, I'm certain I find being the topics that I have to split hairs over. Probably those other guys too, but if they have a rubric, you're going to have to stick with it. Display bases are sometimes forbidden and they're sometimes mandated.
Yeah.
But in an open environment where they're optional, you know, I try not to. It's usually not the deal maker or breaker in the beginning,
But
right? Like, it doesn't disqualify you at all, and
For sure.
certainly an army without a display base can beat an army with a display base.
Absolutely.
But when it's close,
when it's close, sometimes it
and
can
some
be the
guys
display base that
and
does
some
it.
guys worked that whole.
Yeah.
He's worked that whole setting. He's painted that whole Warsenal piece with the Toha Tower. Yeah, that's extra effort, right?
It is.
So if you care, have that display base ready. If it ends up not, even if it ends up not being taken into account, the judges have eyes. They got taken into account a little,
Yeah.
right?
It always does.
It's the effort is seen.
Yeah.
And you know, we saw a couple nicely painted ones at Rumble, man, and yeah, we appreciate it. It looks good.
Always
It looks
does.
good, and it's when all the things are equal, that display base, even it might be subconscious on the judge's part, it's gonna push them over the edge.
For sure. Absolutely. No, I agree with you there. And then beyond things like highlighting or blending, things like that, some people, and I've had this discussion with people before too, what about things like freehand versus decals and things like that? I like, let's just make a few things, I guess, kind of clear. Freehand, like good freehand, is always going to be better than a decal. It should always technically beat over a decal because you painted something on a model versus I put a piece of paper on a model. However, a good decal can absolutely beat a very rushed or, you know, kind of mediocre freehand. But the thing about freehand, and the reason why I don't like even saying mediocre all the time, and rushed is probably the better explanation, is because not everybody's great at freehand. I wasn't great at freehand when I first started. It took a while for me to get good. So your first few times may be a little rough, but a judge can see if you really put that effort in. Like, they'll see if you really, really try to make those lines as straight as possible, or like as the design as well as you could. Versus I've seen rushed, just straight rushed, like freehand, where I'm like, I know that person can do better than that. That's just, you didn't put the effort there. Like,
So
I can't do that.
It kind of comes out as bad freehand
Yeah.
or rough freehand.
Rough freehand. decals.
Really good freehand.
Really good freehand.
Really
yeah.
good freehand will trump decals.
Every time.
But yeah, and you 40K players out there, you poor Space Marine players are gonna end up in the decal territory a lot more often.
Yeah.
And it's more understandable on armies of larger scale as well.
Absolutely.
But then again, I mean, you're going to have a James Wapple who's going to hand paint insignias on every shoulder pad.
Definitely.
And he wins the awards.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who's like, man, I really can't do freehand, it's just really difficult for me to do a design, I've seen people put on decals and then paint over the decal, and that is even still putting in more effort than just a decal. Like, I would make that person win before just the plain decal person, because you still painted, you're putting effort into making it look real and like on the model, so it's not just a piece of paper. So, yeah, put effort. Maximum effort, always. Remember that.
Let's discuss unfinished or rushed models. You have a great looking army, but you didn't get that last trooper done. Mm-hmm. Do you rush him? Well, it's better than not painting him, right? Unfortunately, I will run across a couple armies full of amazing paint jobs, and there's a couple utility models in the back that didn't get painted. Yeah, but the other guys did. So there's my tiebreaker, right? And the same with a rushed model, but then again, a rushed model is better than a totally unattended one, right?
True. Very true.
And if the rest of your stuff is so strong that you think that you've beaten all your fellow hobbyists by a good country mile, go ahead and rush those last couple troopers. You have the wiggle room. But do you think you've smashed all your fellow hobbyists by a country mile?
Yeah, I mean, that's
we see such fantastic armies.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the competition is always high.
And the thing is, and the competition's always kind of getting crazier, because like people out there are always trying to get better and do better. I mean, we've got in the Infinity community, you've got people like Tom Shadle, who is, I mean, his armies are always going to be good. They always have been. And they're gorgeous. But then you've got newer people in the community coming out and just painting out of their freaking mind. And like, yeah, like, and people you've never heard of, people are just like, this is my first tournament and I just decided to bring this. Just a quick shout out to somebody at Rumble who won. I think it was it for Pano that won? Yeah, it was. They had this like, was it a Conte? No, it wasn't Conte. It was Varuna. It was that Varuna army.
Yeah.
And it was like red and white, and it was like painted with like all these like Polynesian like designs and flowers, and he even like had like this converted knight with on a bike. Like it was crazy. And this guy, was his first time ever coming to a tournament and first time ever like entering something, because he didn't think he was gonna win. His friends told him to just do it because he wasn't going to, and he won. So yeah.
Seeing as we've dedicated an entire episode to splitting hairs over army painting judging, I want to kind of sum up by saying, wow, I hate when somebody doesn't win best painted and they feel bad. I mean, because, okay, the pack is usually, there's a wide spread of skill level that we see. And we love getting to stare at all these armies. Everybody come and play and paint. You know, it doesn't matter what you perceive your skill level as. Right. This video's for the guys trying to get that award that they've been struggling to get their hands on. But you also got to remember that's so subjective. I'm a painting judge, and I'm telling you not to sweat that award. It's a fun pat on the back, and if you won it, you earned it. Feel good about it, because you got picked out over armies that were probably really close to as good as yours. And that's what I want to say is, like, it's not there's a winner, you know, if it ain't first, you're last. We've always had to pick one exceptional force out of a ton of exceptional forces.
Yeah.
And we like to give that award to them all, but the TOs are always don't want to make that many.
Right.
awards.
Yeah. No, they only want one Best Painted.
So-
Except for at Rumble this year, they had one Best Painted per faction, which was still, though, we still had situations where we were picking between like 3 or 4 great forces per faction. Didn't really
Yeah.
help. It was still like splitting hairs at that point.
So, yeah, let's just reemphasize, for best appearance, there's no losing that contest. Just one guy gets a pat on the back. All right, so when you paint for it, do it for fun and don't sweat
You
it.
just don't sweat if you get it or not. This is coming from somebody who, for some reason, so many people believes that I've won so many awards, and I'm telling you, I have not. I've never won an officially like judged Best Painted award ever. I have only ever won Player's Choice.
Which is a best
Which,
painted award.
which is a Best Painted award, and it does count for something. But Player's Choice is slightly different than Judges, because Player's Choice, you know, I mean, I guess you're going for the look of cool at that point. People aren't going to necessarily look at your flaws of your paint jobs, so they're just going for cool. So personally, I actually think if you've won Player's Choice, that's probably a better prize more than just Best Painted.
Yeah, actually, if a tournament provides both, I would probably be happier walking away with Player's Choice
Yeah,
than
that means the majority thought yours was cool.
because I don't know, we're all friends playing, right? It's like
Yeah.
the opinions of your for other friends playing are really important. There's way more of them,
Definitely.
so that's a really fun award to win.
It is.
Player's Choice.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. We want to thank all of our amazing patrons on Patreon for supporting us every month, because you know, without you we wouldn't be able to do this. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel and to hit the little bell so you get a notification whenever we post a video. And we'll see you next time. Bye!